I'm Neelima Chakra. I coach professionals to enhance their influence and visibility and communicate and connect confidently with their ecosystem. In this 18th episode of Leading with Purpose, my guest is Rahul Pawar. He is currently the Global VP and leader of field CTOs at Commvault. He has held a wide range of roles in his 26-year career and holds 125 patents, contributing to data management solutions for cloud, virtualization, containers, hyperscale X, service providers, and cybersecurity. He introduces himself as a passionate and empathetic leader, a son, husband, father, friend, and a volunteer in the community. Hi, Rahul. I am so happy to host you to Leading with Purpose today. Thank you so much for making the time.
Really, it's my pleasure. I've seen some of my close colleagues and friends do it, and I've seen your work with them. So I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. Like you know, the purpose of Leading with Purpose is to help mid career professionals learn from the journeys of those who've been there, done that. So that's what we're doing today. Yeah. Shall we jump right in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you've done a range of roles, and there are so many that I'm going to have to read. Uh, you've done software development, R&D, product management, partner strategy. You've been a channel CTO, and now you're the global leader for field CTOs. How did this range happen, and was it intentional?
No, it was not very planned. I wish I could just come back and say, oh, yeah, it was all planned strategy. I had a 5 year, 10 year vision. No, it did not. Nilima, it was partly curiosity, being curious about what's happening in the other realms. And part of it was the willingness to doing a little extra than needed. And when I say a little extra, I always give example of the milkman that I know it's very uncommon nowadays, but if you remember the milkman that used to come, no matter how much he has added water in your milk, at the end of the day, he would like do a little extra, and that makes you feel good. So that going little extra and being curious about what's happening has led me to go into or take roles that are actually way beyond what I was supposed to do, or I didn't stay in the lane per se. The curiosity helped me. And even if we look at our studies per se, right, we categorize, oh, you're a doctor, you're a finance person, you're a blah and blah. But if you look at it, at the core of it, they are all interconnected. The sciences and the arts and everything is interconnected. If you keep your curiosity and don't just channelize and block something, you'll learn a lot. And I felt I did better in the role compared to the traditional person in that role, partly because I knew something about the person on the other side. Instead of saying, oh, engineering always does this, when I was doing product management, I was able to relate to what engineering and where they are coming from, the timelines that they were doing. We were able to better chat or discuss things. When I was in channel, I understood firsthand the pain or work of channel and vice versa, knowing what the product is bound to do or the release cycles that they go by or what they can and cannot say. It was an interesting mix. What I find the most satisfying though is the human connection, talking with people. So that's why you see me talking a lot with customers and partners. Um, and that has been very fulfilling both ways. It's as long as you go in a relation with sincerity and don't make it a transaction, and believe me, everybody can see, no matter how much glaze you put, everybody can see if you're being transactional or you're opportunistic. Versus if you're genuinely curious and willing to help, doors open up. So a lot of my uh, career changes happen because somebody else said I would do better in this part, or somebody else thought that I may do this. And when I started in that journey, I was actually questioning myself, like, is this the right move? Because I've never done this. especially coming from core engineering and products, which is a science, to meeting with customers or being in a channel and working on channel strategy. It's an art. It was a huge challenge, and I did refer to some of the guests on your previous show. I worked with them because I had to start out with like basic terms of sales. Until then, it was all black box, and it's human capacity where we can pretty much abstract everything else that everybody else does as nothing and focus on your own thing. But it was a good thing to be a generalist, to step back and look at a bigger picture.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say curiosity, and you had a different lens, which experimentation gave you, and your relationships that helped you in this journey.
That is true. That is true. And Nilima, like Steve, he has said in his famous interview, you can only connect the dots going uh, backward, right? Like when you're doing that, like at that point in time, somebody said we should be looking at, or you should be focused on this, and it felt like I wish I could say that I did that decision with a complete understanding of everything. It was not that. It was a chance, and I'll be the first one to say that luck also plays a big part in everything that happens, right? Whether it's the company evolution, your career evolution, the mentors that you meet, the friends that guide you, everything is a combination of your work and the luck.
Yeah, that's true. You take a chance on yourself, and others take a chance on you based on the equity that you have built.
Correct.
That's very true. Um, were there any downsides of this range?
The downsides is what you go through, the change, the transition that you go through, because no matter who you are, you have to reset and start again on the new area. Definitely you come in, people know you. That's why they brought you in this particular area and role. But you're completely thrown and you have to start over, and you have to unlearn a lot of things also. So part of it is, oh yeah, you know a lot of things from the past, or the things, but you at the same point in time you have to go with that empty bowl and let the water be filled, and let others teach you their mechanisms. And then what you do is you learn, you observe, and in certain cases you question. So I wouldn't call it downside per se, but if you are willing to like give up everything and start again, and it's not giving up, like you have security and all of that stuff, but you pretty much are starting at the bottom. So one of the transitions I will talk about that is I gave up managing a bigger set of engineering team to manage a smaller set of products team. And from there, when I started as a channel CTO, I was an individual contributor, which was a big change, right? You have your teams, you work with people, you manage bigger set of people or bigger teams. From there, starting individual and then rebuilding the team, and it's fun, but you have to go through that, and that's something I don't want to glorify. That it has its own challenges.
Right. There is the hard work involved, definitely. So, what do you think was in your backpack that gave you the confidence that, yes, I want to take a punt on myself and do this, even though it is different from what I have done?
I I think it was a combination of what was done before, right? The trust that I had acquired from people, and I knew I had a kind of a fallback. Like although um, the only way to go about it is burning the ships or cutting the ropes, as you say, but I did know that because I was doing it in the realm of the same company, uh, I didn't have to completely prove myself. Yes, I had to prove myself in a new area, but there was at least a known entity, and there was a plan B of sorts.
Mm. In your head, it was there. Whether or not it was actually there doesn't matter.
Actually, in my head, it was not there. That's why I did what I did uh, to keep up or build. but I was assured that there would be a plan in case things don't
Okay.
work out. So,
Okay. That's nice. It's really nice. So, as you look back, what do you take away from your journey?
uh, I think the what we underestimate, and many a times we focus on or put the life on almost on hold, that I'll do something based on going here or doing that, and things like that. And it will sound cliche for me to say that the journey and the relations you build while you're in the journey are equally and more important as the journey itself or the destination itself. And we did talk about this at one point, Elima, when we were talking earlier. Um, the day to day, how you show up with your peers, your partners for your team is as critical as going somewhere. So that's one thing. Like, if you want to take from my thing is, if you're curious and you're willing to help, and you are doing more than what your title calls for or your role calls for, you're naturally going to grow. So growth happens not because somebody decides to promote somebody. Growth happens because somebody's already functioning at the other level or is doing way more than what their current role is calling for. So if you keep doing that and if you keep learning and are helping, you're going to grow. Everything else, yes, you'll question, oh, the other person in other company got more promotions, blah blah blah. And I'll say this, is we only watch cars in other lane when they're zooming by faster. When when we do the same and others are stuck, we don't notice it. So just trust the process. The biggest equalizer that we have is time. Everybody has the same set of 24 hours. How you use it, combination, right? Like, money and your company title is one part, but are you using part of it to tend to yourself, to tend to your family, to focus on your growth, learning, whether it's spiritual, academic, whatever the other parts are. If you keep doing that, you'll be a better rounded person. Um, and if I were to go back and tell my 20-year-old, more ambitious and willing to do this and this and this and wanted that title and this thing, I would definitely say that, enjoy the process and definitely keep learning. The learning doesn't stop at college or at a certain certification. It's understanding the company, the processes, or what makes somebody tick, is also equally important.
Yeah. Would you change something if you got a chance to go back in life?
Yes, I would definitely start doing some of those things I was telling that I'll advise my younger self sooner, because the learning elements and all started a little later. I wish, like, I was learning or doing things in a different way, but the getting out of my sandbox per se and looking at the bigger picture, acknowledging what others were doing or understanding why they were doing it, is another aspect that I would start doing earlier.
Mm. That's very deep advice. Thank you for that. Um, so, when you look at your strengths today, which ones do you think are inherent in you, and which ones are learned behavior? And you just said that learning started later.
Mhm. So, I think the empathy was something that I always had, and I've been, and like, even while growing up, I've heard that, oh, you're always considerate about others and all of that. So that was always there. Um learning the aspects beyond what I'm currently working on is something that I developed as a strength. Uh, so what I mean, going back to like acknowledging arts and philosophy or other aspects like finance and accounting, uh, channel management, the other aspects. Those are things that I learned. So coming out or growing up, especially growing up in India, oh, science is my focus. So it's all biology and maths and all of that thing, and arts and languages are things to be done later. Some of the learning part that I was talking about, Nilima, I have started learning languages, multiple languages, to just connect with people holistically. And languages growing up, especially in school, more math focused, more this focused, languages were things I would do to get by, but not really focus on. And I've 360-degree, I've come to appreciate the beauty of it. So similarly, the other aspects that make us what we are or make a business work. When you are in engineering, and I am biased because I spent a lot of time in engineering, you start thinking everything through engineering lens. But what makes a company whole is, yes, engineering, but how the customers are treated, the customer relationship, your front line, your account team, and how they are selling, or what place they're using to sell, your marketing team and what they are doing, your finance and accounting, and what's said versus what's not said. So when somebody says, "Oh, limited travel restrictions," or things like that, and every company goes through that up and down weather, ability to understand that versus just being myopic in your own world is a differentiator. So coming back to your question, empathy or ability to relate to people, I always had. What I learned is learning other things.
Mm. Okay. So widening the horizon is something which came in late.
Yeah, relatively later, like 10, 15 years ago, I started expanding that. And I'm thankful for that.
Great. And I'm surprised you say that, because everything started with curiosity. So I think it was there. Your awareness of that probably came up later. Or
Yeah,
channel where it goes came in later.
no, that curiosity was there, but I was majority focused on just this and that right now. So, which is at that point in time, it helped, but being able to broadening the lens instead of always sharpening on something is what I did in the recent 10 years, 10, 15 years.
You spoke about mentors earlier. What is the role that your mentors played in your career?
Um, so mentors, and it's funny, many of the people that are are further away from the picture, they see things much, much clearer and better than you do. So it's important that you do have mentors, especially you seek out the mentors that uh, are doing things that you want to do. And the analogy I use is, if you want to be healthy, you go to a gym. And yeah, uh, if you want to be related to doing certain things, you start associating more and more with those kind of people. The more you do that, the better you're gonna learn the process, right? Like you won't go to a disco pub to become healthy. Different goals. So as long as you do that and you seek mentors, people that have already done through, or you feel have done through um, things that you want to do, you're gonna learn a lot out of their journey. Especially when you feel you're stuck. Uh, that's the greatest point in time. And even when you're not stuck, even when you have to be careful, because when you're stuck, you do a lot of analysis of what's going wrong, and you're grounded per se. But even when you're doing really well, having somebody who's observing and telling you, okay, this is you, this is luck and everything else that is happening in the market, so that you are focused on what you should be doing, and focused on what else is happening in the market that you should be aware of and where you lack.
Mm, mm. So showing the mirror, showing the possibilities, showing the avenues.
Everything,
What's
everything.
the best and the worst advice that you've got in your career? And why do you think it was the best and the worst?
Um, I'll tell about the best advice. The best advice is what happened to me, where I was pushed beyond my comfort levels and was pushed to do things uh, very differently. And I was not even thinking that I would be able to do that. And somebody saw something in me and asked me to do a different role. That was the best thing that happened. I don't think there's any worst advice, Nilima. What happens is, given the time and situation, that particular thing may not apply to you at
Hmm.
that point in time.
Yeah.
Like generally, even if you say, "Oh, eating greens is the best thing that can happen to you," right? Like fibers and all of that thing. But you may have a health condition where you cannot take additional fibers. So, and
Hmm.
I'm sorry about the medical analogy, but I was only going to say that is, even some of the best advice, depending on the timing, may not be the right thing for you. So you have to take it, but at the same point in time, you have to see if it applies to you, um, and do analyze on day two, day three, if it's still working out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very relevant point because any advice that a mentor is giving, their coordinates versus your coordinates are different. And therefore,
Correct.
it may not always apply. They're speaking from their place of experience. And there is a lot to learn, but there is that evaluation that still goes through, a filter which still needs to be applied.
The biggest mentor that you have is somehow within you. You don't realize it. And I'll say this, and I'm not trying to say it, or not trying to take a spiritual angle or anything. What happens is, thing one, thing two, or self one, self two. Uh, Sometimes in your head, you're your own worst critic. And then there are times, what people say, flow and all of that, you perform your best. So if you silence some of the noise or self-doubt, you come out and start doing better. The ability to find people that have already done that, or the ability to find people that are successful in which successful or doing or happy or having joy, doing exactly what you thought should be done, is the right gauge of people that you should go after. But I think there's a lot of built-in knowledge that exists or that pertains. Somehow you start feeling the urge to do additional things, and you have to take you on that and take advantage of it.
Yeah, so in coaching, we say that all answers are within you. So you've just, you kind of sold coaching for me. All right. So, what are you curious about nowadays? You said you're learning languages. What else? What language? What else is attracting you?
So I'm learning two different languages right now. Um, One is Spanish. In US where I'm staying, the second most spoken language is Spanish,
Mhm.
and the other language that I'm speaking is Deutsch or German. And I had taken German in 11th and 12th, and I did fairly well to pass through or get good scores in there, but I can't speak German.
Mhm.
And recently, for my work, I'm traveling enough to Germany, so I've taken up learning to connect with people. And what happens is, even though things get translated, a lot is lost in translation. So when you speak in the native language, you are able to understand things or connect at a very different level. So that's what I'm doing. And many a times the native speaker will say, "Oh, I don't know what to say for this word." So instead of making them say, if you know that word, or you know that entity, and what happens, what gets translated is most of the business things. But when you're speaking the native language, you connect to them at a very different level. So what I'm curious about, apart from the language, is the human being itself. So I'm focusing a lot on this human to human connections, and then the self one, self two that I was talking about. That inner game, understanding that inner strengths is another area that I'm focused on. I'm also curious in mentoring uh, people that In many cases, people don't need mentoring. They just need to be told what not to do or what not to focus because they're doing too many things. All you need to do is let them say everything that they're going through and sometimes just repeat what they're saying and then they find the answer. Like what you said earlier, the answer is always within them.
Yeah, so being a mirror is a great approach to helping somebody.
Yes.
Um, and you're talking about yes, business gets translated, and I'm sure when your colleagues see you make the effort to learn their language, to get to know them better, um, they are moved a bit as well as humans. You get an extra dollop of warmth by virtue.
um I don't know. They've been patient with my learning abilities or inabilities, but no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Overall. Nilima, in this interview, I'm talking a lot. I do love to talk with people, with everybody. But one of the things, and going back to your strengths versus learn things, I'm also a good listener. Generally, I do like to listen. I'm curious about the life stories, and I'm not going to do this to you today. I'm not going to ask you about your life story today on this call. That's another thing that I do connect with people uh, in understanding what makes them work or realistically. And I'm not doing it um, to keep the conversation doing. I'm genuinely curious about people. So that is one thing. Uh, Listening to others has always been a thing that has helped me.
Right, and that genuine curiosity always shows through. When it is a question for the sake of a question, the listener knows that they're not being heard. It was a mechanical thing which came their way. And they don't even answer from the heart. They give a mechanical response. And that authenticity goes a long way.
Yeah. So one of the things you said, there's a theme called childlike play. And as I'm aging, I'm trying to do more of that. Um, Whether it's dancing, and I'm not a good dancer, whether it's dancing or learning something. The reason why people stop learning sometimes is because they're afraid to make a fool out of themselves. So, but if you are not worried about that and you really, really ask people, there are a lot of people that are willing to help. Like I was talking about my colleagues in Germany. They know I butcher the language based on where I'm trying to go, but they've been kind and patient enough that they're guiding me for the word translations. In Spanish, I almost did the same thing. Like Spanish, uh, things have gender, like some of the Indian languages. So if you don't, you can mess up genders, and which makes for hilarious puns. But people, the colleagues have been kind, helping me, guiding me. So as long as you're able to touch your ability to learn, you unpack and are able to learn a lot more. So that's one of the things, and I feel I've done things, but I'm not in a position to just guide people. But whoever is listening, if they take one tidbit out of this, it's the childlike ability to learn. Don't be worried about falling. Don't be worried about saying something wrong or doing something wrong. If you do it with genuine interest, people will see through it and people will actually help you. And forget about people, forget about everybody else. You'll learn a lot, even from the failure, even from the misspoken language, even from the missed dance step. You learn a lot. Like we sometimes stop learning because we are too much in our head about something. We are trying to protect something, that Insta image or whatever that is. Um, there's no need for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, since we're talking about people, I want to ask, what does your team think about you?
I'm going to find out, Nilima. No, no. So I inherited or rebuilt a new team recently, and over the period of time, I've mentored and built various teams, and some of the people have been kind enough after working with me for so many years, they still keep in touch. So there are people that have moved on, gone to different cities. When they travel and are here, or when I travel to their city, they always have time for a cup of tea with me, or come and meet me. So I think at least they're portraying that they like me. But what I can say about my team, the principle that I've taken across the board is I'm not going to ask them to do things that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. Like if I'm asking them to go present in front of a customer, they see that I do the exact same thing. Uh, and your actions speak much louder. Um, Even though our team, or at any given point in time, a team would be in silo, I always step back and ask them to take the bigger question. Like it's easier in a team to make a us versus them, wherever. Oh, our team is the best performing compared to blah blah blah, and just like bash them. What I have always tried to do is understand the other person or understand the team and what they're seeing in. And many times I'll make my team members do that. So I hope they've seen that my ability to cooperate with others, and my ability to learn, do things that are very uncomfortable at times. I think they do see that. And the other thing with my team is, or anybody that I work with, and we work with people based on based on a lot of things, but I do take the time to help them grow, whatever their ambition may be. So I have been lucky enough through my career as I made transitions, I was able to take the people that were reporting to me and make them that leader or replacement for me. So they didn't have to hire somebody else. My team was already ready to step up and take that next role. So that has been a good thing. But I'm gonna find out. That we're doing a bigger survey this year, and some of the team members are completely new. So I may be in for a surprise. But I think um, there are parts that I'm doing which may be helping them. And I've kept the candor alive, or I've asked them to be as blunt as possible on things that are not going well. So hopefully that's helping.
All right. So candor, fostering collaboration, and challenging them to grow is what I'm hearing. Let's see what the survey says.
Yes, I'll keep you posted.
All right. So, when you're hiring somebody, when you're looking for somebody for a new project, for a new role, other than hard skills, what do you look for in them?
Actually, I do look for the passion in the person. And it's very evident, even if you're an introvert or a soft spoken person, um, there are elements that I touch in your thing, and then all of a sudden you lit up. You start talking about that thing because you are passionate about it. So, um, in my what I'm focused on is understanding things that make them tick, or things that where they're coming from. The things that I'm also definitely looking for is, even though they are making a role change, what are they saying about their current employer? Are they still passionate? Are they still using like, oh, we need to do this and we are not doing it, and I feel like blah blah blah. So I'm hearing that elements of the story from the person. Um, Somebody who's blaming everybody else is definitely not a good person, no matter how stronger their achievements are. But a person who is willing to take responsibility, show exactly, or moving because they saw, hey, this part that I'm doing in my job, it doesn't align with what I'm doing. Because I'm telling my customers or my people this and this and this, but I'm not able to do this. And I've tried doing it. And in the last 2 years, I've tried doing this, and it's not going anywhere. I'm very frustrated. that's a good sign of a person that needs help, that will do well somewhere else, and that's the kind of person I'm trying to hire.
So, this really brings me to my last question, Rahul. And it is my favorite one also. What are your two pieces of advice to mid career professionals who want to reach higher levels in their career?
Um, First and foremost is look at people that have already done the journey. So talk with them, get that mentorship. And second is do very, very well in what you're doing. And do extra, like I was talking about. Unless you're ready and doing what you're supposed to do, you're not going to go anywhere. Like it's you think that that particular title or that promotion is going to give you that control, then you're already lost it. If even without being made that manager or director or senior director, if you're already performing over and above that what that role requires, you're ready. Um, in my mind, the title always, or whatever that next promotion or all that thing, always follows what you're already doing. So be doing, connecting, getting the right kind of mentorship, and you're gonna grow.
Thank you so much, Rahul. This was wonderful. I loved the conversation. I hope you did too.
I did enjoy.